Ghostbusters feels like it's one of those games made by a middle schooler during a 45-minute class project. Developed by Bitch Laboratories and releasing in the US in 1988, the same year as classics like Contra and Mario 2, this game seriously stands out as one of the worst to ever grace the system. Your goal is to bust a shit ton of ghosts with Dyson vacuums you got from the Ghostbusters store. Oh yeah, you know, the one across the street from the Wendy's. This basically sums up the first 3/4 of the game, wasting time until you get a message on the bottom of the screen telling you to enter the Zool building. Ooh. You can get a few other items like ghost food and a few other useless extras, but to my knowledge it really doesn't matter because you can just beat the game without them. Outside of the items that you need to progress in the game, you don't need to really buy anything. You just need 15k. Once you're in, you gotta climb 22 floors by tapping the A button to move the length of a fucking popsicle stick. Once you get all the way up to the top and your thumb has become a fine powder, you hit this bitch 50 times and congratulations, you have completed a great game. This game's a mess and the game creators were racist because they left out Ernie Hudson. Gimmick is a masterpiece. That's all I gotta say. Developed by Sunsoft in 1992, late in the console's lifespan, this game was created solely to be the best game on the system. You're Yumataro, aka Kirby before Kirby, and you gotta save this girl that gets held hostage by a bunch of old toys. Story of my life. While this game is short, only being 7 levels in total, each level is jam-packed with different gimmicks! And of course, in typical NES fashion, it's as difficult as it is for me to upload consistently. Your main attack is the star, which doubles as a platform, Christmas decoration, dishwasher, you get the gist. And it's entirely physics-based, which is insanely impressive for the time. The graphics in this game, top-notch. The music, holy shit, the music! I've played every single game on the NES, and I can confirm that this is the best soundtrack on the system. And they knew that, because they gave you a sound test to jam to all your favorite tracks. I could go on and on about this game for another hour, but I got an appointment at 3:30 to throw shapes with the green little freak. Maxi 15 has a fever dream of a story. Rather than going over the 15 games that are as mediocre as Taylor Swift, I'm going to be talking about the history of the game. This game had a 30-minute infomercial back in 1992 starring our favorite coked-up legend, Hulk Hogan, along with a bunch of random kids who I'm sure were paid with a pat on the back and a packet of Smarties. The game featured multiple unlicensed games from Color Dreams, American Video Entertainment, and Share Data, all of which being released in the past. Originally, the game was going to have 30 games included, but last minute was changed to 15. I'm assuming for budget and legal reasons. The commercial featured a pseudo competition about as real as Luigi and Mario 64, chock full of screaming and paid actors who I'm sure don't remember that night.
They wanted the best, they got their greatest of all time. Am I rock and roll?
While these two guys up front will not shut the hell up about how impressive of a technical feat it is shoving a few shitty games into a piece of plastic.
The 3D graphics, it looks like you can reach in and actually touch the playing figures.
Overall, while better than Action 52, this game's about the equivalent of Walmart brand cereal. 1942 is basically a mass-produced Scratch game. Alright, let's address the elephant in the room, the music. This stuff is closer to a hearing test at the doctor than it is to music. You want to hear that for 2 hours? Yeah, you're best off muting the TV and putting on your playlist. Gameplay-wise, it's as simple as it gets. You're a plane shooting other planes. But somehow even this is janky, thanks to my biggest enemy, Micronics, who I'll get into in the future. While the game itself works perfectly fine, it runs at what feels like 20 FPS and stutters more than the kid in the back of the class with a speech impediment. You can also dive down, which I've honestly found little to no use for personally, but it exists, I guess, which I guess is a great way to describe the game. It exists. I look at this game as one of the most mid games on this system. Plenty of bad qualities while also having plenty of good qualities, all while being masked under a good arcade game from Capcom. Shame it had to be mangled by Micronics. You ever tried one of those magic eye pictures? Then you've played Where's Waldo on NES. This game is the absolute bottom of the barrel when it comes to quality. Your goal is to find Waldo, but there's one major issue. Where the hell is he? Yes, you're supposed to find Waldo in this mess of pixels that looks like you stretched out a picture in MS Paint. You'd have better luck finding Waldo in real life. Now here's the kicker. While in easy mode, the game is a single screen and Waldo is consistently, you know, Waldo colored. Once you move on to hard mode, Waldo can be whatever and wherever the hell he wants to be. You ever seen a Waldo book where he's brown? Yeah, me neither. Even worse is there's only 8 screens in the entire game, all of which can be completed in seconds, making the total gameplay of this game less than a minute. And the other minute is spent watching him walk around in this unskippable cutscene like a dumbass. Unless you want to turn this into a drinking game somehow, let's stay away and not find Waldo this time. Gumshoe is one of the most underrated NES black box games. You're Stevenson, the totally not on a list hero of this game, saving your daughter from the probably also on a list King Dom. Your goal is to traverse the 4 auto-scrolling levels to collect all 5 Black Panther diamonds within 24 hours by shooting Stevenson to make him jump. Yes, shooting him. This may be the only game where you have to shoot your character to control him. Sounds American to me, which is interesting because the game was only released in the United States and Europe, not Japan where it was developed. You collect these balloons scattered everywhere to get bullets, used to shoot down bottles, cars, planes, and everything else that tries to kill you. By shooting birds out of the sky, sometimes you can get a potion that will increase your health by 1, indicated by a wardrobe change. But this will barely help because the game is hard as hell. Overall, this game is very unique and aged surprisingly well compared to all the other NES Black Box games. Go America, I guess. Bubble Bobble is one of the most addictive games on the NES. You're Bub, or Bob depending if you're given the third-party controller that barely works because you're player 2. And your goal is to simply clear the screen of enemies with your bubbles. It sounds boring, but I promise you, it is one of the most fun games to play with a friend on the NES. There's over 100 levels in this game, each lasting a little less than a minute, giving you over an hour of constant gameplay, introducing new enemies, level layouts, and most important, foods. You collect different foods after defeating enemies, each giving you a different amount of points, which is what this game is based on mostly, score. You can play head-on with a friend and either work together or mess each other up by stealing the other's points and keeping the higher score. And what about the music? Well, you're given one music track, and it's possibly the happiest song in NES history. Overall, this game is one of my absolute favorites to pop in and play with friends. Bub and Bob really know what's up.